It's
Oh,
Here comes Gene.
okay. Okay, so Rabbi, would you like me to begin with the briefest of introductions? Okay.
yes, please.
So, well, happy 2023 to you. I haven't seen some folks since the beginning of the new year. And we're trying to invoke some older memories and experiences. When we had the opportunity to work with Eliana and Barbara, it was the month of Cheshvan, near the end of it. And now Kislev has come. And now we're halfway through Tevet. So it's a couple months ago since we had that experience. And Rabbi and I met a couple times trying to figure out the best kind of review that recognizes that at least a few people weren't with us at the original, and not everyone was at the same one of the two of them. And we hope we'll do that successfully and balance quick refreshers with, well, let's keep thinking about this for ourselves and for Mayim Rabim. So I think the first place to start is to invite people in a very comfortable way to, if you were at any of those, either of those two November prayer experiences, to share with us what comes to mind. How did it affect you? What's a memory you have of being in that time with Eliana or with Barbara? So I'm going to mute and invite people who have a memory popping up to share that.
I'd like to start with Eliana, but I'm going to start with Barbara. And my takeaway from the two sessions really has been a different way of thinking, being at services, totally. Just really being present, and being willing to struggle with that I maybe in the past have not found meaningful. I really am so happy that this experiment has happened. Thank you both.
Anyone else want to share a memory, faded or brilliant and full flesh, whatever that memory is, you're welcome to share it.
Well, I guess it's just a snippet, but it was very meaningful to go deeply into that one prayer. I believe it was Ani Modeh that we did. And just spending so much time on that one prayer and really going deeply into it and being able to contemplate it and think about how the way it touched us. I wish I could pull everything out that came up at that time, but I just remember that the way of doing that and of spending that time felt very meaningful to me.
Very good. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. To me, that prayer has always been like a little flyover prayer. Like you say it kind of ba 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 ba. Don't think about it at all. It's like a flyover, we're getting somewhere. And I was struck by how much meaning was actually in there. And it really changed my whole experience of the prayer. I too wish I could, because I was so involved in it, and I think in the little group we didn't want to go back to the big group. We wanted to keep talking and studying and going deeper. And when we started sharing viewpoints, we were and then it was time to go. back to the group. So I just wish that I had like taken some notes or something, and I haven't, but it was very moving. And for Barbara's, I wasn't there in person. I watched it on the YouTube. I didn't realize it was going to be a YouTube. I thought it was going to be more of a Zoom interactive. So that was a little bit different. And when I watched it, and I thought it was a different experience for me because I wasn't there. So, and you couldn't get that much involved, and you couldn't get as involved. I think for a movement thing, it was important to be on site. So, yeah, so those are my impressions.
Great. Well, those are very good refreshers. If no one else is looking to chime in just quite yet, then I'll turn it back to Barbara. You are looking to chime in.
Yeah, I think just briefly, I mean, I was at both. Obviously, I was at mine, and I think I'm really pleased that we're looking into deepening prayer. I think it's something that I've been trying to do and longing to have happen on a more congregational level for a really, really long time. So that's reassuring. And I'm also curious what that actually means, because there's so many different ways it can go. So
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go next. I love the Moda'ani prayer. It reminded me of Jewish renewal, and I know that's not a good word sometimes for people here, but and Barbara's workshop reminded me also of that, only because I could dance comfortably, move comfortably in front of people and not feel like I was the only one and, a pariah in the midst. Because to me, embodying Judaism is the way I came to love Judaism. And
Great.
So I don't have any other reference to it than that. And when I have to, because I feel it's the norm, sit comfortably and not dance or move my prayer, it feels awkward to me. It feels I'm still there. I still do it, but it isn't all of me. And especially, well, both of them, I totally got into my body in a different way than when I left. I was in my body and I felt 20 years younger and alive versus this old bones hurt, or the old bones just hurt. And so I just love embodied Judaism and want more of that.
Well, thank you, everyone. Rabbi, I think we're ready to move on.
So I just want to appreciate
Rabbi?
everybody's feedback.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's Dennis.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to good morning. I just wanted to respond to Pat. We did our Shabbat song circle Friday night, and I can't tell you how surprised and I don't know, fulfilled on a level I didn't expect to see Virginia and Pat get up and dance to one of the 10. Turns out it was a minion. It was 10 melodies of Shalom Aleichem that we sang together, and I had never had anybody get up and dance during a song that I was leading, and it was unexpected. And personally, it's not really for me, but I was so pleased that it moved you. So obviously we need to make room for people to do that if that's what they feel.
Thank you, Dennis. So I recognize that everybody was not there, and those of you that were there know that Eliana shared that you get something new every time you look at this prayer. So we're actually going to spend about 20 minutes reliving. We're going to listen to Eliana, but we're also going to take 10 minutes together to do some study, just to kind of draw people in and just to renew what happened. So I'm going to play about 6.5 minutes, and then we're going to study for 10 minutes. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to put up Eliana. and I'm gonna watch.
The next thing we're going to do, actually, now that we're recording, I'm going to do things in a bit of a different way. First, I'm going to start with a little bit of philosophy. That is my new favorite word. I only thought of it about 5 months ago. Philosophy, a philosophy of tefillah. As Jeffrey said, most Jewish communities, I think synagogue-based communities, make prayer, or some call it worship, a core part of their activities. There are many Jewish activities, though, especially if we look across the spectrum of Jewish history, Jewish culture, Jewish heritage, many Jewish activities. And yet we've decided that prayer is a main one, but we don't often talk about what it is or why we're doing it. And that's why I love that we get to take this time to dig deep into it and to take a deep dive. We're diving deep today into the prayer Modeh Ani, but something that I hope comes across is that we could use this structure for any line in the Siddur, and there would still be meaning to come out of it. Why are we doing this? For me, it's helpful to see the word tefillah as meaning two separate but very important things. Tefillah means liturgy. Liturgy, the words that we have been handed down from our ancestors. Liturgy that has such wisdom in it. The prayers for the evening are there for the evening for a purpose, and the morning prayers are in the morning prayers for a purpose. The more we dig into these words, at least for me, and the more we think about their context, their history, their poetry, the more we allow the liturgy to speak to us. And that's one component of tefillah. The other component of tefillah is prayer, more amorphous, more difficult to define because there are so many ways to define it. Some of my favorite ways to define prayer are caring attention. Where are we putting our caring attention? Being in the moment. I also like thinking of prayer as a response to life, to the ridiculousness of being human, responding in gratitude, in awe, in fear, in help, in hope. All of these responses to life are prayer. And we pray, I think human beings pray all the time. You don't need a siddur to pray. We already have everything we have right here. What makes Jewish tefillah so special and important, I think, is it has both components and they feed off of each other. The liturgy can encourage us to see patterns in our everyday life, to bring different ideas to the forefront, to see the world with gratitude and awe and love and redemption, these themes that propel us through the liturgy. And it also helps us notice these things in our regular day life to make personal prayer more possible. And yet it is the prayer that we have that animates the liturgy. And both of these things connecting to each other in cycles, hopefully elevating our experiences of life, helping us live more fully in life, and helping us support others in living life to the fullest as well. But sometimes there's a disconnect. How do we get from the words on the page to the feelings of our own heart inside of our own bodies? And that's where the deep dive comes in. I've been playing around with this methodology for a couple of years since COVID, through my organization, The Light Lab, which I see as a place to experiment with tefillah and tefillah education. So together we are going to attempt to alchemize liturgy into prayer. And we're going to do it in 3 separate sections. The first one is what I call head knowing. We're going to do some chavruta study. Now we're getting back to that part. Partnered study, where you and 1 or 2 other people come into relationship with the text. It's very much guided. There are questions along the way, and it's going to ask you things about tefillah that you might not have thought to think of before. For example, paying attention to the sounds of the Hebrew. Even if you don't understand Hebrew, is there anything that you can notice in the sounds? Thinking about who wrote this? Why is it in the Siddur where it is? Questions about translation. How do we translate that? And you'll have a good 20 minutes in chavruta to do that. And I'm going to be kind of floating around the Zoom rooms as we were if we were in person. I'd like walk around just to kind of peek in. But don't mind me when I pop in. I just love hearing all the great conversations that happen. Then we'll debrief that together. The second part, I often call body knowing. And we're going to sing some melodies for Modeh Ani together. Some that you might know, some that you might not know. But we'll see now that we've studied it and let it speak to us, how does that change our experience of listening and singing this prayer? And how do the different melodies speak to us in different ways? But the third part is the key. And that's heart knowing. And that's when each of you get to do whatever you want It's true. Each of you, we're going to start with a meditation moment, and then we're going to turn off our cameras and take 5 to 6 minutes for you to take what you have thought and what you have felt and respond in your own way. Now, some of you might want to respond by writing. Some of you might want to respond by dancing, by taking an instrument up and playing it, by singing, by sitting, by grabbing some crayons and some paint, and by drawing. Whatever it is, and it's not for sharing, it's just the experience of you responding to everything that we've done and pouring it forward in your own prayer. But we can't get there until we do the other steps. So we're going to do head knowing, we're going to do body knowing, we're going to do heart knowing, and then we're going to wrap it up in a little bow so that we can take it with us. Because what we do in here is meant to affect our lives out there. So, if you are ready to dive deep with me, to take this deep dive with an open heart, an enthusiasm to see things differently, to approach this text as if for the first time, even if you have read it a million times before, then I welcome you and I invite you to set an intention for yourself by typing into the chat, what are you bringing with you into this deep dive?
Okay, so now we are going to, I think I can do this, actually share my screen. And we're going to take 10 minutes to, as a group, we're not going to go into Hevruta, but try to kind of recreate some of what we did. And maybe I'll ask for a volunteer to read. I'll read the traditional Modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha. So, just okay, I'm being mindful of the time. We're gonna briefly look through the sheet and then we'll have rooted together. So would somebody volunteer to read the 3 different translations? So one of her modes is to have us look at different translations.
I can do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, living God and Master, for giving me another day of awareness. I thank you for this sacred trust. And that's Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi Schachter. I acknowledge you, ruler, spirit, everlasting. You have resouled me. You believe in me. That's Ileana Light. Thankful am I in your presence, Spirit who lives and endures, for you've returned to me my soul with compassion. Abundant is your faith. And that's Andrew Shaw.
So she asks, which one catches your eye, your heart? What feelings arise? What questions arise? And we're going to come back to this, but I wanted to go through some of her other questions before we go back to it, just so that people understand all the questions she asked. So do I have another volunteer to read the why, this box here? Virginia?
Here are some facts about this prayer. For each fact, go a little deeper, ask why. Number 1, this is traditionally the first prayer said upon waking, even before getting out of bed. Why? Why the morning and not any other time? Why first thing? 2, thanks comes before the word I. Why this order? 3, the rabbis believe that the soul left the body each night and was returned each morning. Why? What can we learn from this idea, even as our understanding has changed? 4, this prayer was written by a mystic, Moshe ibn Machir, a mystic of Safed, and was first printed in his book Seder Hayom, Order of the Day, in 1599. How might it have ended up in the Siddur? Why this and not other personal prayers? 5, what other choices are being made? can you question and ponder the choice?
Okay, and somebody else let the prayer speak.
Scan the text of the prayer and translations above. Is there a word or phrase that catches your eye? Why is that word or phrase calling out to you today? If it seems random, can you find a reason? Repeat the word or phrase over and over, like a mantra. How does it feel to have the prayer speak to you?
Okay, so we're not gonna even look at this translation lab, but now that we've done that, I thought we would try to recreate for, 5 minutes or so, our different reactions to the translations or some of the other questions asked. And if you want to speak, you can unmute yourself.
Could I see the Hebrew again?
I also point out that she did put modeh, modah, modet, which is male, female, and non-gendered Hebrew.
I'm fond in the translations of the phrase resouled, because I don't think my soul has totally flown away. I think it's gone to sleep. And I like that phrase. It's very evocative for me.
Yeah, there was a children's book we had that had at night people would plug themselves in and in the morning unplug,
Like the Matrix, the movie.
I'm sorry, somebody else was going to say something.
I really like that it says, for giving me another day of awareness. It's not just giving me another day, it's giving me another day of awareness.
I agree with Ginny. I was going to mention the same thing. I love the word awareness in there, even though master, I would change in that one to spirit of the universe. I think that when I say another day of awareness, it brings me all the way into like, what is the potential and opportunity for that awareness?
And I agree with both of you. I like the first one, except for the master. And I just say in the morning, dear one, because I see God as, for this prayer, for sure, I see God as my partner or my dear one. And so I use that language, but I love that idea of coming back into my body, whatever that means. So I don't like resoul, because I just say I'm coming back completely into my body from that dream world. And I have another day, and the awareness reminds me of how I want to be in that day.
And I guess I like that one too. I love that phrase awareness, but I also like the idea of thanking you for this sacred trust. And it's something about the trust of having another day of awareness, the trust that I will do right by this day, or at least do my best to do right by this day, in thankfulness for having it.
I remembering now the conversation that we had, that I was in the Chavruta breakout group, and a number of people had trouble with the third translation because of the shift from the experience of me in relationship to the vine to say at the end, abundant is your faith. Well, what is God faithful about? And it just sort of threw a number of us off, and it still does. Not my favorite phrase.
And I just want to say that I was really struck that I never, the Rabba Emunatecha, you believe in me. I never had focused on that phrase. That we always think of us to God, but this is God to us. God saying, hey, go out, do good things. I believe in you. Well, my translation.
I guess I was actually heartened by that because I never thought of God believing in me. And it gave me some strength and some security around myself that I didn't have when I remember it. So I will thank you for the reminder. I will use it in the way I say my prayer now.
I think for me, the concept of God believing in me is a little tiny bit too anthropomorphic for the way I think. I'd have to grapple a little bit with those words in order to make them something that I could say with honesty.
Right. And this is such a God-based prayer. That, for those who are strugglers with God or even perhaps non-believers, how would we rewrite this? Any last comment?
Just it's amazing how never ending the process is. How, I thought we were done with this back on November 6th. And when we re-engage with it, it still seems fresh. Like the questions haven't all been answered, and it's good to recognize the possibilities. So thank you.
So next, I'm going to do just 3 very short sections, about a minute each, just to see, so we can re-see what kind of instructions Eliana gave us, because she was, of course we were sharing and things, but I wanted to these are just some of the techniques she used. So I'm going to go back to Eliana and just share with you. It's very short.
We're going to, in a couple of minutes, move into body knowing and heart knowing, but we're not going to take so many breaks. So what we are going to do now is we're going to take just 2 minutes. Remember, from here, we're going to sing Modeh Ani, actually probably using only 1 or 2 melodies so we can really get into it, bringing it into our bodies, and we're going to do a little meditation. And then we're going to have 5-ish minutes to respond in however we would like to the ideas and things that we're doing to pray in our own way. So we're going to take a couple minutes now for you to get, if you'd like, materials for that response. If you want to have an instrument nearby, if you want to have a yoga mat, if you want to have paper and a pen to write, if you want to have art supplies, whatever you would like to use for that response, take a minute now, go grab it, and then I'll start singing and you can jump into the song.
Okay, then people went off and got their things, and I'm just gonna, I think this might be part of where she starts to sing.
With different gendered language or God language when no one else can hear. So I want to give you that invitation as we sing this melody for Modeh Ani a bunch of times. And then maybe one other melody, we'll see how we're feeling. Play around with the gender, play around with Melech, king, versus Ruach, spirit. Play around with emphasizing certain words. Take some moments of listening, take some moments of singing. There's no wrong way to do it. And because it's just you in your home, I hope you give yourself that freedom. Whenever you're in a place, feel like you can ground, we can breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. As we take time for this prayer to be in our bodies. Modeh Ani lefanecha melech chai מודעני לפניך מלך חי וקיים מודעני לפניך מודעני לפניך מודעני לפניך רוח חי וקיים מודעני לפניך רוח חי וקיים.
Okay, she kept on singing, and we're gonna, I'm gonna just do 2 more minutes to give you a taste of the whole head, body, heart. We're gonna just start here.
If you are not already, I invite you to find a comfortable yet engaged position to sit in, feet flat on the floor if you can. Feeling the earth coming in through your feet or through your seat, rolling your shoulders back, putting up your chest, giving yourself room to breathe, imagining that your spine is a sacred ladder from heaven to earth and back to heaven. Allowing your eyes to fall to a close or focusing on a spot on the floor in front of you gently, starting to follow the pattern of your breath in and out, bringing yourself into your body, into the present moment. I acknowledge Modani. I acknowledge here, this moment. Now that we have studied and sung these words that someone wrote, that we have been passed down, our sacred inheritance, what are we responding to the world with today? What is our Modani? What is our acknowledgement? What is our morning prayer, even in this afternoon time? Wherever it is that your heart takes you, whatever it is that your heart desires to say, this is your time. Say it out loud in your space. Write it on a piece of paper. Draw it, paint it, dance it, sing it, breathe it. Whatever you would like. We're going to take 5 minutes and do that now. How are you responding? I invite you to.
Okay, and just to do one more little thing here, I'm going to pull up the sheet one more time and just show that she ends with, if this prayer text could give you a piece of advice, what would it be? If you lived according to the advice, how would your life be different? If we all lived according to the advice, how would the world be different? So let's, I think we're going to move on, Jeffrey.
Yeah, so this seemed like a really good time to invite Barbara to amplify on any of these themes or share something of our own reflections about what makes for meaningful, holistic prayer. So Barbara, we're with you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, I think I have more questions for you all than, I mean, for those of you who weren't there, that a lot of this was really kind of deepening into the body in a way that is broader and more inclusive. I mean, I think Eliana does a really great job at starting that, and there's so much more. And I think for me, the question is, what's the intention of the people who are here or in the congregation in terms of all of the myriad of ways of deepening into prayer and finding meaning? What's of interest and what's not? You know, for me, I think that, you know, it's that our bodies are, and our movement is not just something that happens secondary to our mind, but that often by starting from a more embodied place and then bringing in thoughts and ideas, there's a really profound deepening that can happen. And which is what in the part that I did, that I was trying to do, of trying to kind of balance, but really start with really saying, what happens if you actually allow the body to talk to you first before letting our tradition talk to you or our minds talk to ourselves? There's value to all of that. And yeah, I mean, for me, I think in a similar way to what Pat was talking about earlier, that being fully present means being present with our bodies, not as just a vehicle for the rest of our soul and our mind, but really being present with our bodies as something that are profound by itself, although we're all connected. So yeah, I mean, I think it's more, there's so many ways this can happen. And so part of me, I think my curiosity is, what is it that as a congregation we want to do or not do? I mean, this is sort of the work I do more as a therapist, but spirituality and our connection to the mysteries of life is also part of therapy. So this is, I mean, this is like deeply the work I've done for many years. So it's more, what is it that as a congregation, what's the interest? So, and I'm happy to have people ask questions or respond, but I mean, I don't really have a lot more specific to say because there's so many things.
Well, it's really a wonderful segue to how Sharon and I would like to shift into a Mayim Rabim frame for further distilling the meanings of this experience. But I think, did I see Ginny wanting to respond immediately? I'm not sure. I thought so. Go ahead, Ginny, please unmute.
Sorry. You know, I think that when I'm at a service, you know, I strive to be part of the minyan, part of the congregation. And so for years, you know, I mean, it just felt uncomfortable to move because I didn't want to distract anybody else. You know, but I guess, Barbara, you opened up, you know, some possibilities for, you know, just physically, you know, being comfortable in our bodies in that setting, so that possibly that minyan intimacy could happen. I mean, I want to be part of a group praying. And I, you know, and I think that's a given, but sometimes I can't figure it out. And you really helped, and I really thank you for how you opened up some possibilities for me. I mean, I felt like I've done better at services, and not, well, I don't know if I connected with other people, but at least I felt kind of thrilled about being at the service and doing the prayers, and it was good.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I mean, and I am one of those people too, that I'm both aware of wanting to feel like it's more okay to sort of be more visibly embodied. And I also wrestle with, because often I'm there as one of the service leaders. And so then I'm wrestling with, how much do I show up moving, and how much do I also kind of hold space for people who are less comfortable moving, and to sort of support all of the range of praying. And so that, yeah, I mean, thank you.
Joan, I think you had a
I wanted to
comment.
make a brief comment, and that was one of the things that I remember you saying, Barbara, in your presentation, was that even little teeny tiny movements or vibrations are also valid kinds of movement. And that's where I go. I go kind of like to this little tiny shuckle or this little tiny something, but it feels very like, it's almost like the minute I start hearing music, I kind of start going, do this, or I don't know. But I'm not one who like feels like I want to get up and dance. That would be too much. Like, that's for my own house in private with Bruce Springsteen. But in the prayer service, it's that little tiny thing that also no one might even notice. Thanks.
Right.
Right.
And some of that thing might also be almost separate from services, being able to hold experiences where the range of what's possible, so that for some people it's going to be tiny, for some people it's going to be large, and for the same person sometimes it's going to be tiny and sometimes it's going to be large, and it's all prayer.
Yeah.
And to be able as a congregation to sort of hold that larger container so people can show up really fully but authentically.
Yeah. I appreciate both those comments. I want to make a note about our venue and how the venue allows for more expression, the Friends Meeting House, more expression than one might think. So, you know, we're together, but there's lots of other space. And I sometimes will trying to balance not being a distraction for others and doing what my body wants to do. When we get to a particular place in the service where my mind and soul get very conflicted, the second paragraph of the Shema, I move to the back and I go, Shavat Vayinafash. I want to focus on my soul power and the extra Sabbath soul I have, and not on the mental gymnastics of coming to terms with divine punishment and reward in the universe. But I'm only mentioning this because I become comfortable going to a different place, because I don't want to be a distraction to others. But it's a big room. Maybe we need to have a place where people go to utilize more of their bodies. I think this is beginning to raise the
Right. There are other people, I mean, as a service leader, there are other people who do that. So that is, but it usually, you know, part of me also wishes there would be a way to say, is there a way as a community to allow it without anybody having to wrestle with not wanting to distract from other people? And that's, I mean, to me, that's the bigger issue. So it's sort of like, that's wonderful, sort of going away in the back behind people. You know, that's a good choice. On the other hand, what would it be like to have people be in their own prayer experience? And some of those people are part of that community but are moving it, and some people are not moving it, and some people are doing tiny movements. And that, to me, that is not anything, we're not there yet.
I want to support that. I'd like to jump in here because I want to answer Eliana's question. If I were really embodied in doing that prayer every morning with my whole body, I feel like I would be a much more complete person when I go out there. I would be in touch with God or spirit or whatever language you want to use for God. And I would be very much more in touch with my heart and my spirit. And so I feel like I don't want to be a distraction to other people, but I don't think of it that way. I don't want to see people scorn at me. I don't want to look at people and say, you're dancing, or have that on their face. I just want to be free. And I've been in a congregation where it's like that. So I want that again, but that's my hope and prayer.
Okay. I'm going to turn it back to Rabbi Stiefel, and the body is an important part of the possibilities. I'm speaking now as the ritual chair, that we want to be exploring these to incorporate, and it's a very important one. And there are also others. So I think we're going to sort of rescan and remind ourselves of the experimentation that does go on at Mayim Rabim, then see if we can look in a very focused way at the suggestions coming out of these two laboratories. And then Sharon and I have a notion. Look, this always stimulates ideas, and I think one that comes to my mind is that it would be easy enough to place into Kol HaNeshama, like we have the guidelines around what's Shabbat like, digital electronic equipment, what we don't do, what we do. We spend a lot of time on that. Maybe we need a simple guide that can be put there of, we think of prayer as being multidimensional. You might want to be using your body this way, your soul, your reflective powers, because I think a lot of this are assumptions that people bring about what is proper prayer. And then if you feel you're not embodying that norm, you feel, as Pat's indicating, sort of weird and different and judged. I think we can make a statement that takes away the judgmental quality of that, perhaps. So anyway, it's one of a number of things we want to explore. Barbara, maybe since you gave us more to think about, one comment from you, and then I want to be mindful of time and the last thing we want to do together. So go ahead, Barbara, please.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I think it's not there's other pieces at work too, that for some people, in addition to having a particular idea of what prayer is supposed to be or not be, there's also, for many people, being aware of body and moving is uncomfortable and scary, and that's also something that people who are more in tune with their body pick up viscerally. And so it's, so it's not just giving people permission, that for some people, and it's not a criticism and it's not wrong, their way of prayer might involve something different, but that there are some really valid reasons why people are uncomfortable with body stuff because of their own stories and narratives. And that the problem is that people who are more in tune to body and movement are often sort of subliminally or consciously picking that up, and that that can't be necessarily fixed by giving everybody permission. So I think it's got to be bigger than just words that say this is okay to do, because then we're letting the head and words do it, and we're not really addressing it on a body level.
Thank
So,
you.
Barbara, can I ask a question?
Sure.
How would you suggest that we would address that issue on a body level in a congregational setting? How do you address that?
That's a great question. I mean, I think that's another version of the question that I asked. I think that there probably are different pieces, because one of it might be separate from services or before services, things where people can come, and those who want, so that there's sort of a sense of support among people who want to be more embodied, and a sense of, oh, I'm not the only one. There might be also ways to then address it within the context of services, but working with the body is often, it's a slower timing. I always say body timing is much slower often than head timing. So people get ideas faster than you get it on a body level. And so some of that makes it harder to sort of go into some of the underlying pieces and services, but some of it too might be to just, outside of services, be able to find ways to support and connect people who are longing for it, or who are curious and want to try it. And I'm seeing Virginia nod, so okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Joan, one last
just wanna
response, and then
comment,
I'll just,
there's things that I like about that approach, and there are things that I don't like about it. I don't like the segregation idea that you like, we're gonna take the people who like to move, we're gonna put
No,
them.
I'm not segregating that. It's like saying, this, we're doing this, anyone who wants comes, and with the understanding that there are going to be people who are going to be, thank goodness, I really want to be there, or I'm curious. And there's also going to be people who are going to self-select. So it's not saying they're not welcome, but there are going to be people who are like, no, that's not what I want to do. And that's okay too.
I just want
Much
to
as
finish what I was gonna say.
Go ahead, Joan.
I kind of see it, kind of see a couple of things. One is that wearing my adult programs hat, I would love to like do any kind of adult programs thing that we could come up with that would like allow us to have these kind of conversations, because I think just the process of hearing how different people are approaching things gets me out of the four walls of my mind. The other thing is though, how about if we had like a we statement, like we, our community, it's almost like going back to our strategy and who we are, discussing who we are, a community that approaches prayer in many different ways, and that we're a community that approaches prayer in our heart, in our mind, in our spirit, sitting, moving, shuckling, vibrating, da 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 da, and like giving people permission to say, you are part of this. No matter what you do, a very, very inclusive thing. I've talked enough. I'm shutting.
Well, I do want to say before turning it to Rabbi Stiefel that I am just so delighted as a Mayim Rabim member that there are people who are singing and have found that venue. And I probably won't join that for a variety of reasons, but I wholeheartedly embrace it, just like I would wholeheartedly embrace a place and a time for more attention to the body, and hope that eventually that gets integrated into the wholeness of who we are and how we pray. Anyway, Rabbi Stiefel, you want to take us to the next step?
yeah, I just want to note that there are some places where we have been experimenting, and they might not, they might seem routine by now or not. We added a couple years ago, well, probably, I'm not sure how many years ago, we added Ma'ariv Moment. And that's a couple times a year, a weekday, we do an evening service. It's in terms of the prayer liturgical rubrics, the only thing kind of that I've put in is like a Baruch Hu, Shema, Silent Time, and Mourner's Kaddish. That's kind of like the bare bones, and everything else is up for grabs. I've often played classical music during the Amida time. I know Dennis has done more civil rights songs around MLK Day. Carol Jean of Blessed Memory did more of a chanting service. Anyway, it's an area open for expression. We have, through Jeffrey's encouragement, he calls it a visual midrash, but when we do the Shema, there is a different visual replication of the words, I guess, that are offered on the screen for people to meditate or look at, because many people take in information in different ways. And We've also been experimenting with somewhat with God language. We do Brucha She'amra instead of Baruch Shemo at our morning Shabbat morning service. Instead of blessed is he, blessed is she. Those are just a few. I imagine there are others. I mean, I think the whole, what Joan introduced through Anita White and our visual prayer project, that's a visual deep dive that we've done. So if anybody has other examples we've done recently, please share. But I wanted to just say that we want to expand on that and take note that we do some things. And Barbara.
No, just to say, I mean, we absolutely do a range of things and bring more stuff in, but of all the threads I'm listening, everything you mentioned is not about body and movement, other than we're always there in our bodies and we're always there in our movement, so and that's not to say that what is being done is, I mean, that's great, that's really wonderful, but it's also not, it's more, for me, it's a more head oriented and really minimizing the body part piece of it, the body movement piece of it. Doesn't make it wrong, but it's using other creative ways of working with meaning.
Yeah, I would just add to that list in regard to Mariv moments, Spencer's fine role as we've approached Thanksgiving several times and making folk songs part of the prayer experience. So anyway, there are lots of forms of that experimentation, and it's the job of the ritual committee to sort of monitor that, encourage it, go to places that are harder places. Perhaps that's the body. Sounds like it is in some ways out of today's discussion. And Rabbi, can I go to this document? So I'm going to invite you to I'm going to disappear in a moment, but only for the sake of inviting you to make some notes here. I don't need Grammarly, thank you, right now. I'd like to be the scribe here and make some notes for the ritual committee, for us. And I'd like to do this in two parts. I want to talk about elements that we experienced and re-experienced today that we want to underscore and name as worthy of more exploration. And then I want to shift from the pieces to the whole of what the deep dive was like and share a suggestion that Rabbi Stiefel and I have. But first, let's work with the parts. I'm going to go in blue so I recognize my own commentary here. Seems to me, if I look back over the what the range of possibilities that Eliana and Barbara were recommending to us, they included the connection of prayer to one's own spiritual Jewish journey. That was a message. A second message or modality was going deeper into the meaning, which was the moving into small study groups or breakout groups so that we can go deeper into prayer. Another modality was looking at alternative translations and rendering of the core meaning of the prayer. That rich discussion we had about 3 different ways of understanding Modeh Ani. A fourth notion that comes across is the different embodiments. I do think melody affects the body of the meaning of the prayer in different kinds of musical melodies. Fourth message. I think this is a sort of a bigger message, the value of kavanah, of intentionality and mindfulness. All the discussion about embodying the prayer. And I know, Barbara, you've added some nuance to that because it's more than embodying so that one can use the body to pray the meaning. Body has a language of its own. And then what Eliana was talking about at the end, the reflection of what this prayer means for me today and moving forward. What does it mean to me today, taking the prayer into the world? What would the world be like if we embodied it? So I think I'm going to ask Rabbi Stiefel, since I won't see you, I'm in this document, maybe she will, or just actually unmute yourself, say your name, since I know most of your voices and faces, but I'm not putting them together, so it's helpful if you just say this is Jenny or this is Howard. Which of these elements do you think it's important that we continue to experiment with and seek ways of integrating into our now 5-hour Shabbat service? Because if we honor each of these, it takes time and energy. I'm joking, but because at some point it has to be put into that practical context. But I'm going to note your names and put down that you're saying that from your perspective, it would be very worthwhile to blank. So I'm going to just go through these again slowly. I'm not going to say them, and we give you a chance to look at them.
Avruta, small group study, Virginia.
Okay, Virginia would like to see us do more with small in Chavruta. More small group. Anyone else want to put their stamp on a particular one of these kinds of experimentation?
I echo Virginia, just so, you know, I think Chavruta is important.
You?
Mm-hmm.
He agrees, okay.
This is Howard. I'll put my name under the Kavanagh and mindfulness.
Okay. Thanks, Howard.
This is Pat.
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
You. Go ahead, Pat.
Okay. I would like to embody the prayer more and Kavanagh second and Havruta third. Actually, all of the things are important, but those are my most important.
Okay, that was Pat, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Pat, strong. Okay, you're giving us priorities here. Okay. Okay, hold on one second. I'm trying to do my job as a scribe well. And Pat, what were the other two that you thought Havruta study was your third priority?
Havruta's third and Kavanagh is second. To me, they all go kind of together, but the Havrut is third only because that's something, again, that seems more mind than body. And I'm really, that's a whole different subject, but it's an interesting subject.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay, other folks who.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, this is Sandy. I'm interested in the rendering of the core meaning of the prayer.
Okay.
And yeah. And
okay, Sandy, I got that. Got it. You want to just say a word about why that's so valuable?
I thought that was very helpful. Just, I mean, having the example of it on the chart with the 3 different meanings, and then really being able to feel like what resonates for me.
Okay.
This is Dennis. I agree with Sandy, especially since having alternatives that don't focus on God, but rather, more universe or spirit. I find that more meaningful.
Okay.
I'd like to add my name to that too, this Virginia.
Okay.
But don't go changing the words in the songs, though, because that would be too complicated.
I'm going to put that down, Dennis. But don't change the words in the song.
We sort of already have that with Nigunim and just that whole tradition that it's already there.
Yeah. You don't have to put that down. I was being mostly facetious, but it does occur to me that as we adapt language, for gender neutrality and stuff, you do have to go back and change. I mean, like I don't say modet ani anymore. I always use modet ani, and if I'm going to sing that publicly, I'm going to have to go back and change the words because I want to respect the change I've made personally. So it may need some changes in some adaptations of people's other people's original music.
Well, so that's reminding me that there's a craft to making all these new possibilities available, and that requires time and skill and decisions about how to, like Rucha Shemra. It took a little while, but we adapted the melody to it, and after a few discordant beginnings, it's now, I think, part of our repertoire. Anyone else want to weigh in here?
I just wanted to, this is Sandy again. I just wanted to say that the melody in music just transports me a lot. I love I just love the melodies of some of our prayers. And I like that we have that as a choice.
Okay, so maybe it's a choice of where you're being transported to. Can be.
I'll add to that. I like the melodies sung longer, because to me, I get into it more in my heart the more I hear it.
Right.
So to me, when I sing, 2 lines or 3 lines, that's not enough to get into my body.
Okay.
I need the melody to be longer.
Right.
Yeah,
And I really like the kavanah of the person singing it, if they have that kavanah. So they give me their spirit as part of their song, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
Because they're embodying their song, whether they're moving or not is not the point. Whether I feel that they're feeling the kavanah of the song is making that song more meaningful for me and pulling me into my heart.
Right. I agree. This is Barbara. I agree with that. It sort of is moving the melodies, bringing in things that are already done with like the sacred chanting traditions that we have.
Yeah.
And
I also
and do as a people that we don't really incorporate as a congregation.
I think in echo to this same modality, going back to where we just were with the different melodies. For me personally, is a certain, each melody you do gives you a different maybe perspective on that prayer or that line.
Okay.
So, and
I'm sorry, and is that Jeannie?
Yes. Yeah, this is Jeannie. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Jeannie. The melody gives the flexibility to express the prayer in different angles, I guess I would say. And the other one is the what it means to me today.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Reflections of what this prayer means to me today. And yeah, just that. Just
And
put my name.
I would add my name, and I note that there's different ways of doing that. One is to just take a moment and let people do that inside themselves. The other is to share it, to verbalize it. And anyway, that has to do with a challenge for Sharon and service leaders, how to orchestrate that as a whole. But noted that it's an area that that Jeannie would like to see us do more in.
Yeah. May I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Before we move on. In echo with Pat and some others, especially with Pat, that when it takes a while for a kind of a prayer to seep in, and the chanting, I think, is a different form than the two, just once through.
Okay.
Once through is more, you take it in with your mind and maybe your heart, but chanting, in other words, saying it, going through more times, embodies more within you.
Okay.
And maybe we could do that on a particular prayer, not everyone, because every prayer, because service would be too long, but maybe a particular prayer on a particular service.
This is Joan. I'd like to add that both what Jeannie and Pat are saying, it also has to do with the flow. So like if it's very hard to just like chop this one and then go to the next one and go to the next one and kind of have different melodies and so forth. Sometimes it's nice to have like the prayer blends into a nigun that doesn't have the words, but you just do that and then you come into the next one. So more of a kind of like a cohesive flow between the things, even though the melodies might change. But I think once you're in that, I think then it's easier to like continue to stay in that place.
Yeah. I want to add my voice to thinking that that's valuable, and I often think there's an echo to the prayer, but you have to be repeating it to hear that. It doesn't happen when you move on too quickly. But I am going to move us on because I want to be mindful of time, and I want to talk now about not the elements, but this is very valuable. Don't be surprised if you're asked by Rabbi or the ritual committee to help us develop that modality that you've mentioned that's important to you. And that's why we're, Mayim Rabim, a participatory community. But Rabbi and I talked about there's also the possibility of at some time as a unique experiment with prayer as a different time or different, just like we have, different, we have our twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year, where we alter the balance of prayer and study with more study, but still doing prayer. We might want to experiment with what would it be like to do a deep dive? Should we do another deep dive? And should we, again, using these creative modalities, not parroting exactly what Eliana did or Barbara, but taking elements and repeating them as a whole, going more deeply into a particular prayer. So, we might, I just made some notes here and would like some brief response. If Modeh Ani is the morning prayer, perhaps we should do a deep dive into Hashkivenu as the evening prayer. if Modani is the I, me prayer, maybe we want to do an exploration of the we prayer of peoplehood. If Modani is every day, what about a special holiday prayer? My wife is humming, which is distracting me. But why are you humming?
I'm humming Husky Venu.
Oh, she's humming Husky Venu. Anyway, the, the question for folks is, do you want to see us doing an immersive experience around prayer, modeling the many, if not all, of these modalities as an exploration? So that's the question that Rabbi Stiefel and I had as we process the meaning of this for Mayim Rabim, and we're very curious. I don't need to note this, so I'm going to come back so I can see you, because I think this is an important concluding discussion of, do we want to have another immersive experience? What might it be focused on? So
Can I ask a question
that's the
about
question.
this? Can I ask you a question? Are you talking about as a service, during a service, or at a different time?
I'm not open to both possibilities.
Okay,
Could
I would
be an
definitely
alternative
be open
kind of
to
service.
separate things, a separate deep immersion for an hour and a half kind of thing, but also deeper immersion on one prayer during the service, at least one prayer during the service.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed to what Pat said, so that, or it could be, and it could be on anything, because any prayer, any part of the service could be a line from whatever is the parsha of the, it could be on anything.
Yes.
But something where there would be, for those people who wanted to do a deeper dive, maybe like before a service or at some other time, and then they would be able to connect with what that experience was when they say it or do it or we do whatever in the service.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Interesting
And
possibility.
I have a request, Jeffrey. Is there a way that you could stop sharing, because it's like,
Easy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah.
That way we don't have two versions of each other in sync.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say that those ideas that you put up there, I really loved them all. The idea of the Hashki Venu as the counterpoint to the Modani, and the idea of the I, me, and then the collective we peoplehood. I mean, I loved the different approaches. Like, those all look good to me. Having this special holiday, where we go more deeply into what a prayer that's symbolic of the essence of a holiday. I think all of those ideas were great.
Well, thank you. Nice to have a positive response. Of
course, that doesn't help narrow it down, does it?
Well, but I think it has to sit in and sink in before we can narrow it down. But if you want to help us, Dennis, what would you, do you have a particular one of those that narrows it for us? No. Okay. Yeah.
I think I echo what Sandy just said. All of those that you put down are important and would speak to different people in different ways, but it encompasses the whole. It encompasses the whole of people's processing prayer experience differently in terms of these different modalities. And I also just quickly, I love your idea of Hashki Venu in the evening and Ani Moda in the morning for Moda Ani for a service. Thank you, Pat. I maybe just taking those two prayers and so that the service, so that people could become more comfortable, maybe. I mean, there's a value to taking a certain prayer and then doing it again, maybe another time, doing it again so that we could say, to get our feet wet, kind of. Yeah.
Thanks. Ginny, and then I'm going to wrap things up a bit, not end the dialogue, but honor the time frame. Ginny, you had a comment?
I was thinking at some point, there might be some people who are more attuned to movement, and then if we could get together, 5 minutes before the service, and maybe have text that we also study as we get ready to pray.
Nice idea. So I want to indicate that that the ritual committee will try to absorb the wisdom and the ideas that are coming here. We're going to leave room for one more experience that will happen a couple months from now, which is when Dr. Eric Kaplan, who's the academic vice president of the Mordecai Kaplan Center for Jewish Peoplehood, and one of the foremost scholars of liturgy and liturgical change. He's going to be here the weekend of March 11th to the, March 10th to the 12th. We're having him as his Beth El, and that also will give us some of what seemed to reverberate for Sandy. Can a change of words or of idea touch my soul in a very vibrant way? So I think we'll add that to the mix and then begin to think about, as we look ahead to next year, soon enough, Rabbi Stiefel will be reminding me we have to take out the calendar, we have to look ahead, we have to do this planning. We'll continue the dialogue. I know that that Rabbi Stiefel and I enjoy opportunities to co-design and work together. And I think what we'd like to do is, as this sorts out, find a time where we can begin to work out a little bit, but the we here is more encompassing. I would like to suggest that if you would like a hand, would lend a hand in developing another immersive experience, then send an email to Rabbi Stiefel and I saying, and we'd keep this real simple. We'd open a Google document as we're formulating some ideas and invite people to comment, to argue, to provide counterpoints. But we think that that will be most meaningful if the next immersive experience has the voices of people who have begun to process this. So this has all been very valuable. Rabbi Stiefel, you have a final word here. We will be back in touch and invite more comment, but I think this fulfilled my fondest hope that these things don't end up being in a vacuum, that we don't think of those two wonderful November experiences as one-time things, but prods for more dialogue and more opportunity. So thank you for helping us do that.
I appreciate, first of all, working with you, Jeffrey, but I appreciate everybody who showed up today, taking this time, but also just giving your feedback that was really, really instructive and useful, and opening to me to see many other opportunities we have. Thank you.
Yeah, for me as well. So Toda Rabah, thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Should we stop the recording?
We will do that.
And I'm wondering if
were you pleased?
Oops, you're recording again.